few people of that knowledge survived.
Right.
But the few that did decided to go very underground. And so they quit writing, they quit sharing, and there's only certain groups that survived. Carlos Castaneda happened to run into one man who had kept all that knowledge secret.
Yeah.
And then introduced him to his party. They're called a sorcerer's party or a shamanic party. And they believe with a large enough amount of people that you can do called group dreaming or seeing, being able to see and validate energy. Right. So like they could even look at an event that was happening across the world and telepathically tap into what was going on because of their human mass. The more people that form energy together, especially if they're the right combination of people, it just supports and creates incredible opportunities for collective consciousness. And so
right.
These are really rare teachings. Castaneda books will blow your fucking mind. A lot of people, it's so far out there that people say he has to have been a fraud. It has to be made up. Yeah. But I happen to be a student of a teacher who was very powerful, who was associated with them. And then I happen to have met so many of them. And my intuition and my discovery of the teachings have proven to me that these are not made up. They couldn't be. And if he did make them up, that means he's even more powerful than if he had learned it from somebody. Right. Because the stuff that he tells you to do, it fucking works. Like unbelievably effective. And it's a little ahead of its time. The basis is that you do these strange movements in groups. They're called magical passes. So it'd be like Qigong or Tai Chi, but they have a lot more power. Right. They give you this incredible surge of energy to where it's way past like psychedelics. It's way past holotropic breath work. You could do it while fasting with sleep deprivation, and you're especially going to get really, really altered, and you're going to open doors of perception. But they interact with the non-physical beings that you've talked about. They can see and interact with the phantoms or the ghosts or the what they call inorganic beings. And so they've discovered that there are forces here that we cannot see, that are preying upon us or acting on us. Some of them are helping us, you know, but these are beings that are kind of caught in a different layer than we are. And they make use of that as a means to help them discover more about the world. And they even access these beings for information, and these beings will tell them things. But they are also very difficult. Like when you're from 0 to 4, you're left alone. But around 4, these beings start stopping the lucid dreaming from happening, because most kids are just seeing energy and everything's amazing and they're full of joy unless they've been traumatized. And so they're basically trying to re-access all their youthful energy by going back into all their memories and collecting aspects of themselves that they left behind. And they call it erasing personal history, so that you can live truly in the now and you're not this person that you were. But anyways, it's really intense stuff. It's so worth studying because it is going to be, in my opinion, kind of what people get into in the future, where like yoga and meditation and stuff has been popular. I really believe lucid dreaming, these crazy movements, and this art of memory work, recapitulation, I think it's going to be eventually really something that people fall in love with. But yeah, I was curious what your experiences are with, or what you've read about or learned about as far as deja vu goes, what your theory is, how the simulation might play a role with deja vu, or if you've ever have any insight onto that type of thing, where people think that not just deja vu, but some people say or claim that they'll dream something in a dream at night, and then like years later, they're in the very scene of that dream, which they had no reason to have reference for. It's just sort of this random dream they thought that was meaningless, but it turns out to be sort of validated that maybe things are not as linear as we thought.
Well, I don't know about the deja vu. To me, it's just more evidence of edits simulations around reality tunnels that are experienced in a hologram sometimes are not sequential. I mean, you can in your sleep experience an entire series of events that later on in your more lucid times, when you're not asleep, when you're jacked straight back into your central nervous system, you go replay what was already basically projected. Because this is a theory of mine that when we go into REM sleep, that's when all these reality tunnels are knit for us, and basically AIX is trying to determine what our next pathways are, because it can't read our minds, and it can't just basically steal the programming of the simulacrum. In my own teachings, the simulacrum and AIX are totally distinct. And people confuse them all the time. They are not interchangeable. They are totally, absolutely distinct phenomena. But before we get into that, you mentioned the rituals and the physical gestures and all. Listen, what you're describing to me from the Toltec perspective is everything that basically you just described. But from my perspective, it's patterning. Patterning is basically it's an activity of somebody who wants to do something in the physical world to create an informed field. An informed field is what is created by almost any sorcerer, warlock, witch, magician, anybody in the world from any culture and any time period wanted to make something happen that they considered supernatural. Patterning is how they did it. We call that ritual, creating a ritual, doing that stuff. Well, it sounds like this Toltec information that you're conveying to me is very specific with a physical type of maybe dance ritual or something. You call it martial art, call it whatever it is, but it's something that has worked. And if it's worked for multiple generations, then that means anybody who replicates that exact same ritual taps in and borrows that energy that was already created from the past times it was employed. This is the value. I'm a student of Francis Barrett. 1801, he wrote a book called The Magus. Huge, giant work on magic and the occult, philosophical occult systems. Very, very deep. He's like Henry Cornelius Agrippa from the Middle Ages. And when I was reading Francis Barrett, I was noticing, man, this is real. I know because I was raised a fundamentalist in the Bible and all that. I never really gave wizards and warlocks and mages and all that much thought. But once I read Francis Barrett's work, and I realized that no wonder in the Middle Ages people paid fortunes for old Arabic spell books, because if you could replicate the actual spells and rituals that were done 500 and 600 years ago, you tapped into the exact same powers that they wielded. You didn't have to go through all the heroic things they did because they already did it. You're tapping into, because see, this is the whole theory in magic. If a phenomenon has ever been performed and executed favorably, then it's never ended. It's still there. It's in the cosmos. You got to reach out and find it. The only way you can find it is to get in sync with it. The only way to get in sync with it and draw it to you from the cosmos is to get the pattern right, which is the creation of an informed field, which is the generation of a ritual perfectly produced, just like it was done in the past, so you could get the exact same effects that they had in the past. So borrowing energy from ancient times is actually a thing. And I realized this when I read Francis Barrett. So what you're describing to me is not mysterious at all. It's just more evidence to me of simulation theory. It's more evidence that we live in a holographic construct, because in a hologram, everything that's ever been done in the past is still there. It just can't be seen because our vantage point is different. Let me get this bone away from this dog. Can you hear that noise in the background? I got a dog outside my door playing with a bone that's going to drive me nuts. Hold on.
No worries, man.
Wow. Yeah, my listeners on YouTube, they know I just got a puppy.
Oh, cool.
Let me tell you something. It's worse than a child. I swear. I swear. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, no, I know. We went through that too, and just destroyed so much damage to my house because of it. So
right,
costly, a lot more expensive than a kid even. Man, that's so cool that you said that, because it literally, when I'm doing these movements, especially when there's like hundreds of us at a workshop in Mexico where it kind of all comes from, it's just like borrowing ancient energy, and you can just feel and even see and have dreams about these beings that used to do this work, because and the amount of energy that you get, it's almost too much. It can, a lot of people that do this work aren't really prepared and don't know how to creatively make use of that much energy.
Right.
And so it can kind of send them off the deep end, right? And so shamans aren't that far from being schizophrenic. It's kind of like a fine line, because you've opened yourself up to so many things. And so I'm always fascinated by observing schizophrenic people and talking with people on the streets. And I have a lot of respect for everyone and everyone's trauma, because nobody meant to be traumatized.
Right. Right.
Nobody planned to become schizophrenic. They may have taken a lot of drugs to do that, but they were taking those drugs because something else had happened to them that was making them want to escape reality, or because they could sense that something was wrong with this reality. And so that was their way of breaking free of the media spell, you know. And so, yeah, it's just more validation on my end too, to hear your theories. And you know, I think the difference,
schizophrenia needs to be addressed before you move on to another topic. Listen, schizophrenia is evidence that the filters of the central nervous system are not operating optimally, because the person that suffers schizophrenia is experiencing phenomena that the rest of us cannot perceive. So we think they're crazy. It doesn't mean that it's not there, but optically, we're only going to see about 5.5% of the electromagnetic spectrum. We don't know what the person that's suffering from schizophrenia can see. They can probably see a lot more of that spectrum. Their olfactory senses may be hyper aware because the filters have been removed. Their auditory range might be out of this world. They may be able to hear as good as goats and dogs, but we wouldn't know because we're not them. We're not experiencing the world that they're experiencing. But the central nervous system is a filter. It's a processing center that filters all five of our senses. So those who suffer from schizophrenia and other psychotropic maladies, these people have had their central nervous system damaged. By having it damaged, those filters are weakened. When those filters are weakened, they are receiving way more information than we are. They're not crazy. They're seeing things that are there that we can't see. They're hearing things in the audible range that we can't hear. And for this, they get diagnosed with being schizophrenic. It's really, to me, it's very, very simple. It's very simple what's happening.
That's so well said, man. I'm of the same